Yes, well, metals are essential in all technologies. I know of no technology that is not relying on metals. But here, of course, we speak about batteries, we speak about electric vehicles, we speak about solar cells. That is all based on metals. So metals are the new fuel of our future society. They're essential. And I speak even about hypermaterialization. So many people speak about dematerialization, thinking that we have a lot of technologies using less resources. It's exactly the opposite. Our technologies are using more and more metals, more and more resources. They are really very dense in terms of metal content. Well, of course, we hear a lot about resource depletion. We hear a lot about peak copper or peak zinc. Well, these are notions that are not correct. I must say, as a geologist, I can just tell you that we don't know what is below our feet. So all these resources are below our feet, but very honestly, everything that is below a few hundred meters is simply unknown because we have no easy tools to explore the underground. So you have to understand that the resources that are well documented today are resources that have been discovered by geologists, worked by mining companies. And when a mining company has enough resources for the 20 years to come, they stop doing any exploration. So not surprisingly, when you sum up all the discoveries done by geologists, fed by mining companies, you end up with a horizon of roughly 20 years. So of course, if you look at the statistics, like typically the one from the US Geological Survey, you will think that in 20 years' time we will run out of copper, run out of lithium, or run out of whatever antimony. No, it's not at all the case. There are still plenty of resources to be discovered, but for that we need exploration. And nowadays there is little exploration going on. Surprisingly, we need metals, but we are not intensively exploring the underground to find these metals. Now, personally, I made some rough estimate of what you can call ultimate resources. So how much is there, let's say, in the first 5 kilometers of the crust? Let's take a thickness of 5 kilometers. Let's say that this is reasonable for mankind to be able to access those resources. Well, this rough estimate of ultimate resources brought me to the idea that we still have centuries of copper and centuries of zinc ahead of us, even at the current pace of extraction. Which means that we still have a lot of resources below our feet, but which does not mean that we should keep doing business as usual and that we should manufacture all the goods that we are manufacturing today. This is a very different question. It's very important to understand that to use metals responsibly, we have to think in terms of the long-term availability of these metals for future generations. So today I will, for example, take a rock out of a volcano in Chile. I will bring it to the quality of electric copper, so I will refine it to 99.95% purity. That's all very good. Now I have to keep it like that as long as possible for future generations. So it means a responsible use. So for example, if you manufacture a copper tube, it is a responsible use because at the end of life of your house, you can easily recover that tube, remelt it, and manufacture a new one. But all the copper that is entering today in electronics, in nanotechnologies, is really disseminated, finely disseminated into technologies and will be extremely hard to recover. So the responsible use there would mean that, okay, we need nanotechnologies, we need these kind of very fine and detailed technologies, but if we want to make a responsible use of copper, we need to think in terms of very long use time. So to give a very simple example here, all our smartphones, which last roughly 1.5 to 2 years, maybe, okay, now coming to 3-4 years, it is still extremely limited, and we should really go for smartphones that would last dozens of years, which means that they should, of course, be much more repairable than they are today, and definitely also more recyclable than they are today. So circular economy for me, it's essentially 4 challenges, but the reality is that there are dozens of challenges, but I love to summarize the challenges of the circular economy into 4 challenges. The first challenge is about feeding the loop. We need new resources, fresh resources, because there are new uses, new technologies, so we need new metals. So mining is part of circular economy. The second challenge of circular economy is to design our projects or products in a way to make them more repairable, reusable, and recyclable. So that's really calling out to all engineers who are designing technologies. And basically my message to all these engineers is, okay, you've been able to manufacture this. Now I ask you to demanufacture. So everything that we're able to build, we have to make sure that we can unbuild it, that we can reuse the materials in different functions or in different technologies. So that's a completely different way of thinking for designers. My third challenge is about slowing down the loop, which means that really the circular economy, it's about caring for the stocks. It's not about flows, it's not about consuming more, it's about really caring for what we have, caring for all our goods, making sure that we keep them as long as possible, that we slow down the consumption loop. In a certain way, it's also calling for sobriety. Do you really need that technology, or can you go for alternative solutions, etc.? So that's the third challenge. And the fourth challenge, that's of course one for engineers, it's to recycle. Okay, now that a product really comes to end of life, can you recover the metals that are in the smartphone, in these electric vehicles, in these solar panels? And that calls for new technologies, for innovation, for new ways of sorting all our waste at end of life and try to give them a new life. Skills are important. Where in a certain way we're not really asking for new skills. We're asking for engineers who rediscover what we call mineral processing, but of course they use mineral processing techniques and extractive metallurgy techniques for recycling. So the new skill is essentially because we are having a new material, we are having urban mines, we have new compositions, we have new metals that are associated into a technology that were not naturally associated in ores and rocks. And of course, to separate these metals that are now together, we need new technologies. A good example is copper, aluminium. Copper and aluminium are not found together in nature, at least not in metallic state. Well, we have a lot of associations of copper and aluminium in our electronic waste and end-of-life products. So what kind of technology should we develop? Do we need to develop to separate those two? So this requires new skills in terms of, I said, mineral processing, in terms of extractive metallurgy. But we also need robotics, for example. We are developing a lot of robotic-based sorting, or smart sorting, which is requiring skills in robotics, because the robots need to be able to pick up different pieces of waste. This requires a lot of innovation also in terms of sensing. We require new sensors that are capable of detecting the composition of different materials. And then obviously we also need deep learning techniques. Or robots have to be trained to identify different kinds of waste and put them into separate bins. So that's also a whole world of innovation that requires new skills to develop this smart sorting technology. I think there is a lot of inspiration for a new generation. If you want to contribute positively to a better society, to sustainability, you really have to contribute to the sustainable availability of resources. So that's really a very nice challenge for the young generation. In the past, we did not care a lot about what we were manufacturing. We were just taking and we were disposing it. We've caused a lot of issues in terms of environmental impact. Now, the young people who want to contribute very positively to sustainability and to reducing environmental impact, they should really look into circular economy and all the jobs that are linked to this circular economy. So we need engineers, but we need also economists, and we also need people who work in social sciences to change the behavior of consumers, so there is room for everyone. To train the new generation of engineers, we have a very important program that is called HERawS, Master in Georesources Engineering. We started it like 10 years ago, together with Université de Liège, Université de Lorraine, L'Oléo, University of Technology, and Freiburg, so Technische Universität Bergakademie Freiburg. And the four universities have joined forces to educate engineers with a very good background in understanding mineral resources, but also a very good background in using mineral processing techniques. And naturally, we have evolved over the years by addressing not only primary resources, but also secondary resources. So this is our answer to the need for new skills. So we are very happy to have about 150 alumni around the world today, and we hope that we will keep growing that number.